Welcome to Ntiva's Microsoft webinar series for February 2024. I'm going to be your host again, Ted Brown, Director of Product Management here at Ntiva. And I'm excited to bring you this webinar all about Microsoft Copilot for Microsoft 365 and the recent announcement that Microsoft put out here in the middle part of January. So let's go ahead and share my screen and get this going. So as I said, we're going to cover a couple of different things with Microsoft Copilot. So today we're going to cover an agenda that's going to consist of a little bit backwards. So we're going to go kind of what I did in the November webinar series. If you watch for the announcement that came out, Microsoft Copilot for enterprise clients, we're going to go through and say what was recently announced for Microsoft Copilot for commercial tenants that are small to medium-sized businesses. Once we get done with the recent announcements, we're going to go into the Microsoft Copilot family, get into some differences between Microsoft Copilot and Microsoft Copilot for Microsoft 365. Again, it's kind of a name sounds similar, but they do different things. Go through a little bit of a demo of how Microsoft Copilot for Microsoft 365 will work. Get into a little bit of how it actually works behind the scenes so you can kind of see the security behind it, and then go ahead and follow this up with some next steps. So what was recently announced by Microsoft? So Microsoft announced in the middle part of January that Microsoft Copilot for Microsoft 365 is generally available for commercial tenants. What this means is that Microsoft Copilot is now available as an add-on if people have licensing types as Microsoft 365 Business Standard, Microsoft 365 Business Premium, Office 365 E3, Office 365 E5, Microsoft 365 E3, and Microsoft 365 E5. Now, this is a slight change that came out when they released this in November. The Office suites were not there previously. So if people had Office 365 E3 and E5, you had to upgrade your license to Microsoft 365 E3 and Microsoft 365 E5, which does have a higher price point. So now people with Office 365 E3 and E5s have the capability of adding on the Microsoft Copilot for Microsoft 365 license to their current licensing structure. Now, the pricing is still the same. The pricing is still $30 per person per month. However, there is no minimum quantity. Previously announced in November, there was a 300 minimum quantity that had to be purchased to utilize Microsoft Copilot. Right now, you can purchase a quantity of one if you wanted to kind of try it out. Quantity of 5, quantity of 300 if you want to go down that far, but you don't have a minimum level of requirement of actually purchasing this license, which is nice for small to medium-sized businesses. There is a slight catch though. There is no monthly term for this. So people familiar with NCE licenses usually available to have an annual paid license, or if you can go to a monthly commitment license that you can kind of turn off whenever you want, those are usually 20% higher. With Copilot, there is no monthly option. People have to purchase an annual commitment. The other thing that's different with this as well is you have to pay all up front for this license. So if you have a $30 license and you want to have it for 10 people, the $30 license is going to be $360 per user for the entire year. Times 10, you're going to get through $3,600 that you have to pay up front to utilize this license. Now they will do prorations for people that add licenses throughout the year. So if you had 10 people, or you're finding it working phenomenally across all the people that are testing this out, and you want to add it to another 5 people, say 6 months later, when you purchase 6 licenses 6 months later, that you're only paying for the 6 months of the remaining term of the Copilot license. And then come the time for official annual renewal, you'll pay for the entire 15 licenses all up front. Now, I have heard that Microsoft make some changes to this commitment level, maybe go to more of an annual paid monthly. But for right now, there's no ETA on when that's going to happen. So I think we need to plan accordingly. And if you want to use Microsoft Copilot for Microsoft 365, it will be an annual commitment, all paid up front for the licensing structure. So now I get past what was announced for Microsoft. Let's go into a little bit of actually what is Microsoft Copilot. So Microsoft Copilot is the name kind of goes through a whole bunch of different products from Microsoft. Microsoft has a vision of creating a digital companion that will go through your whole work life and create a consistent user experience across different things you utilize in Microsoft, such as maybe Bing, your Edge, Microsoft 365, Windows 365, Dynamics, whatever you have, they want to have Copilot behind the scenes assisting you along the way. Now, I really feel, like you mentioned last time in my other webinar, Copilot was correctly named. That is, it's there to assist you in what you need to do on your work daily balance. So it's not going to get you all the way there. With Copilot, it might get you 80% there on the task, 20% there on the task, but you are responsible as a pilot to take it to the finish line. Make sure that information that Copilot's coming back to you with is correct and accurate, and how you want to actually describe what you're trying to put out in an email or maybe a LinkedIn post or trying to get some information out of how you want to code something better. It's still upon the pilot to make sure that the information they're gathering is correct and then take those next steps afterwards to put it into production. Now, so the Microsoft Copilot family goes through a whole bunch of different Microsoft products, like I mentioned. So you have here in the Copilot location on this chart right here, you'll see it has GitHub. That was like one of the first locations where Microsoft put in Copilot and then started working through all the other different product types. Microsoft Copilot is available in Bing. You have Windows 11 that has Copilot that can pop up. It's coming here very shortly with security. The announcement we have right now with Microsoft 365, it's kind of put into the applications there. And it's also going to be available in Dynamics as well as Power Applications. So let's go ahead and talk further about a couple of different key aspects of Copilot and make sure the names make sense. So we have Microsoft Copilot, which is what used to be called Bing Chat Enterprise. You know, it's very closely named to Microsoft Copilot for Microsoft 365, but it does do different things. So Microsoft Copilot is a secure and private chat service that leverages Microsoft's Copilot technology. It helps get work done quicker, faster, be more creative, and support your clients better. It's almost similar if people are utilizing the Chat GPT service of being able to put something in as a prompt and get some answers back, but it's all done through Microsoft Copilot. Now, some of the advantages of using Microsoft Copilot are if you have a Word document up, or sorry, a PDF document up from a website, you can ask Copilot if it's in an Edge browser, just go, hey, go ahead and summarize this entire PDF document. Give me some key points of it so I can really not have to read the entire 20-page document and get some key information from that as a summary. Maybe you want to draft an email or social content. You can pop in a phrase or anything you're trying to put in there and say, hey, rephrase this content. And it'll come back with some different suggestions how you potentially might want to rephrase what you're suggesting and put that into action afterwards. You can always cut and paste it from the prompt of what it's delivering to you when it's been generated and put it into whatever medium you're trying to work in, Word, Excel, Outlook, you're trying to send an email, go down that direction. You also have the capability of generating images. I don't know if you've actually utilized this a lot. You can actually spend a lot of time typing in a image you want to actually get back. It does go into the DALL-E 3 large language model to actually present you a visual representation of what you typed in. A lot of fun to play with, and it kind of come into handy if you're trying to put some information into charts and graphs. You can also learn new skills. So maybe if you want to figure out some more information about how to become a better accountant or things like that, I want to figure out how to balance my books better financially. You can try to learn new skills by typing in some information there and actually getting some relevant information back to take home with you and practice that at home. Also, maybe if you want to get into coding or things along those lines, I want to get into web coding. You can try to find some information on how to put things together and take your skills to the next level. And lastly, you have the ability to actually get answers to specific and complex questions. So just like the Chat GPT, you can ask questions straight into it, and it'll give you that response. Now, what I like about it, though, is it actually kind of gives responses back and gives you linkage that you can actually click on to find more information about how it came to that answer. So I think it'd actually be nice to show this in a little bit of a demo to see how you kind of operate Microsoft Bing Chat, which is now called Microsoft Copilot. All right, so here is my web browser. I am using Edge. I like using Edge a lot. So up here in the right-hand corner, you have a Copilot symbol. When I click on the Copilot symbol, it brings up my Copilot. It's in my sidebar here. Now, there's multiple different ways to get to Microsoft Copilot. This is the one of the ways I like to utilize it. So within this chat button, typically most people will see this where it actually just has web. I have work right now because I have the Microsoft Copilot for 365, which allows me to go into my corporate data. If you don't have that license, you'll just have the ability to search this on the web. So let me go ahead and put in a search here. So let's say, hey, I want to find some information about stock trends. So I'm going to go ahead and put in this prompt. I want to find the top 5 stocks that are the top stocks of January 2024 and provide some brief reasons for the recent trends. So when I hit submit, it'll go through and find me this information and bring it back into nice little correlated information that now I can take action on and find some more. So here's the best performing stock of 2024. Not surprisingly, we got some tech stocks coming up here, some Nvidia because of all the graphical cards that people need to put together for actually all this AI going behind the scenes. And it also gives me some of the worst performing stocks as well. And then I can see here, where does it learn this from? You can see these little numbers right here. I'll stop responding. See these numbers here that actually gives me where this information was come. So if I want to click on this, it will actually bring me to the site where I actually got this information so I can find that relevant and information of how it got that information presented to me within the ChatGPT system or a Microsoft Copilot system. You also have the capability of going to this, not from the chat browser, of coming into bing.com/chat. And you have the same experience. So in here, you can see I had my side browser right here. Let me close that. Now I have my web browser right here. I can ask it anything. It does give me some information here, what I can ask. Let's go ahead and prompt it to do something different. With prompting, I can get some more information out. So for this one, I'm saying create a table of the top phones of 2023. List out key differences and the pros and cons of each. So very quickly, it's going to go through the internet. And the best part about this is new information, not old information of 2021. This is finding out anything that's relevant and bringing it back to us that is happening live right now. I'm asking the prompt to put it in a table form. So now I can see it pretty easily. And if I wanted to, I can go ahead and edit this in Excel, bring this right to my Excel and go from there. So maybe you're trying to pull some information about, I don't know, some anything as far as real estate trends in certain areas. So you can go ahead and prompt that in there. It'll pull it into a table format, and then you can take some analysis and action from that level. Now, one of the things I mentioned before is using the DALL-E 3. So while this is bringing this up, let me go into the chat section. You don't have to go into the correct large language model to make the action happen. Microsoft Copilot will figure out what best large language model it needs to use for the prompt being asked for it. So for this question, I'm going to ask, draw a picture of a friendly robot waving to the audience with an expression of excitement and use specific colors on the bot. Now I'm going to hit play here, and it's going to go through and say, yeah, I'm going to go and create a picture. Now it go through here. Sometimes it works better than not. And we'll go through here and create that picture. Let's go ahead and let that load. And lastly, what I like to do here is while that's going, another example I use this all the time is to kind of help me get going on a Word document. So as you can see here, it popped up my friendly robot and some of the colors I want to see and an expression of excitement. So you can actually cut this and put this into a document, put this in a PowerPoint, whatever you need to do. Now for the Microsoft Copilot as well, I'm going to say create a document on the importance of SOC 2 Type 2 certifications when evaluating data centers. List the key points I should be looking at closely for security measures and hit play. So what I can do here is I'll put this in, and now it's going to bring me a report back of certain information. I can then take this information, put it into a Word document, and go from there. Now, there's different ways to work within Microsoft Copilot. You can work, like I said, directly from here. I also like using this thing called Compose. So I'm going to come over to this Compose button, and I'm going to put the same information here as well. And from here, I can get different tones. I want to go ahead and give me more of an informational tone, and I want to create a summary, a paragraph of this, and hit a long and hit Generate Draft. And so it'll go through and give me a different type response with the same information, but maybe in a different format that I want to see. I'm going to have one more of an informational tone bringing it across. So this might be more beneficial for me of a Word document that I want to start writing, where this one's more of kind of a list view of what security measures I should look within the SOC 2 Type 2 certifications. You can see here, it's bringing up more of a Word document. And once it gets done, I can cut and paste this into a Word to go and get started. So you don't have to have Microsoft 365 Copilot to utilize the AI services available from Microsoft. Most people have license types that can work directly with Microsoft Copilot today. Does not require that 365 Copilot action to happen with. Now, can you get more advantage of utilizing Microsoft Copilot for Microsoft 365? Yes, you can by bringing it into Word and Excel and then extrapolating information from there, which I'll show you in a second. But a lot of people have access to Microsoft Copilot today to take advantage of these things I just demonstrated right here. So let's just take this a little bit further. So why Microsoft Copilot? So Microsoft Copilot does comply with Microsoft Trust Center policies and standards such as ISO 27001, SOC 2 Type 2, as well as the GDPR. Microsoft Copilot does not use your prompts and responses or data access from Microsoft Graph to train the large language models. It only uses them to generate relevant and contextual suggestions for you. Microsoft Copilot does not store or share any of this data provided to it. It only utilizes in local cache of the models and metadata to run on your machine. So it's very secure. It does not share your information with anyone else as long as you have the commercial data protection, which we'll get into in a second. It does have access, like I mentioned, to multiple different AI models. It's built upon the latest AI models of DALL-E E3 as well as the ChatGPT 4 and get into the latest information you have there. So you're not working off of old historical information. And like I showed you as well, it's transparent and current. It does citations provided for each response. So you can click into it and find that where it got that information and learn more if you needed to, or ask additional responses based on that information. Now, as I mentioned, this is available for most clients today. So if you have a Microsoft SKU that is Microsoft 365 E3, E5, F3, Microsoft 365 A3 and A5, which are academic type licenses, business standard or business premium, you are automatically set for data protection. Now, you can know this when you're looking in the Microsoft Copilot. If I come up here, I can see my name says protected. My name says protected. So all the information that I'm putting into this chat is protected by the Microsoft privacy levels they've already put in place. If you do not have that license type, you're not protected behind the Microsoft privacy information, and it might be beneficial looking to upgrade or move to this different license type. However, Microsoft does say that they're making all licenses available for this in the future. There's no timing announced when Office 365 E3 or E5 will have this capability. It should be coming soon, but for right now, if you have the Microsoft 365 E3, E5, Microsoft Business Premium, Business Standard license, you have the capability of being fully protected behind the Microsoft Copilot chat system. Whew. All right. Now let's see what type of differences they are with Microsoft Copilot. So as I mentioned through here, I had the Microsoft Copilot, which gives you the foundational capabilities of doing type of searches off the web, and you protect it right there. It does web grounding of finding the information that's important to you and then looking for this information in the large language models. And for the key part of this, it does have commercial data protection, like I showed where it says your data is protected. Now, Microsoft Copilot takes it even further, going to the enterprise grade data protection, because it is looking at information within your tenant that has your SharePoint, your Teams, all your files, your emails along the lines there. Does graph grounding, which I'll get into a second of what that means, and is available to you in Microsoft 365 Copilot app. So you can utilize the large language models directly from your Word, Office, Excel, all the documents and application you utilize on a daily basis. So Microsoft for Copilot for 365, we have this embedded in all the application across 365 apps. Now, what is this? So Microsoft 365 Copilot utilizes large language models. Like I mentioned before, it goes into your ChatGPT 4, your DaVinci if you have math-based prompts, your Codex for any type of code-based prompts, as well as the DALL-E E3 for image-based request. Now, Microsoft 365 Copilot uses a concept called grounding. Now, this process is which it does is improves the quality and relevance of the responses generated by the large language models by adding additional information from the user's data into the graph, such as messages, meetings, emails, files to the user's prompt. This helps the large language models understand the user's context and text better and provides accurate, specific, and actionable answers. Grounding also respects the user's data privacy and security, as it only uses the data for the user's permission to view and does not train the large language model for the information being provided. Grounding is a key feature of Microsoft 365 Copilot and helps users do their work, be able to get their work questions answered and produce tasks such as what's important for them today or even how to write a report. Now, some of the advantage of utilizing Microsoft 365 Copilot, which I'll show you in a demo in a second, is it allows you to unleash your creativity. You can jumpstart your process by going to a Word document and telling it, hey, write me a document of the history of Mesopotamia or something along those lines. And then you can go ahead and get started and extrapolate information and take it from there. Bring your new ideas to life. This comes down to more working in the PowerPoint of taking a Word document and instantly being able to create a PowerPoint directly from the Word document straight down to the speaker's notes. I'll do a demo on you in this a second. This is a really phenomenal experience that you can utilize with Microsoft 365 Copilot. And you also have the ability to analyze trends with Microsoft Excel, creating easy looking visual charts directly from a chat-based feature within Excel, asking you to extrapolate more data. And then you can actually ask more data, more questions about that data and to get some more relevant answers for you. Now, besides unleashing creativity, I really like the unlocking the productivity. Now, I utilize this a lot within Outlook and Teams. The summarize email threads quickly is fantastic. I'm sure a lot of people have been put onto a huge email chain that they just got added to it for might have been going on for a week or something like that. And you have to read through a whole list of information to find out what is going on. the summarized email will actually get you there. It will go through a list view of telling you what happened in the correct um, daily information, what's going through there. So you have the history of what happened with the email. So you can actually go in there quickly, and it has a relevant tabs to click on it. So you go directly to that portion of the email where it asks that question. So it's really handy to have that for the summarized email. You can also get in there, summarize key discussion points within teams, so you can figure out what happened during this long meeting. And you can actually have it where it will give you all the to-dos of people that said they were going to get done for that meeting as well. I'll go ahead and get into this with a demo of the Microsoft 365 Copilot system. All right, so let's bring over a Word document. So let me bring up my Word. I'm going to start fresh with Word. All right, so here's Microsoft Word right here. And when you have Microsoft 365 Copilot enabled for 365, you'll see you have these little icons right here. Icon here and an icon here. So you can start from anything. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on this one and just say, hey, what do you want to draft with Copilot? So I'm gonna say, let's go ahead and create a document behind the technology of James Webb Telescope, the history involved in the creation, and also please provide short biographies of the key individuals and generate. So this information will now, since it's not something that is something Ntiva has produced or something that's in my tenancy, it's going to go out to the web and find that information and then produce a Word document based on the prompt I put together. So you can see here that it's pulling things together and now bringing down a Word document based on the James Webb Telescope and give me some information here. This should take about a minute or two to complete, but once it gets done, it's typically around a nice page, page and a half information, and then I can take it further and go along from there. So just bringing it down, we'll let this thing continue along. Now, the other thing I like utilizing for Microsoft Word is the ability to look at information of something that was already complete. So I'm going to bring over a document I have here, it's a test document of some specifics of a e-bike that's out there. So it's a 4-page document all about this product of an e-bike. Now I can click on Copilot here and I can interact with this document. So with this e-bike document, I can bring it up, like Copilot load, and ask questions. Maybe I want to summarize this document, summarize this doc. Click enter, and now it's going to go through this 4-page document and put it into a nice, maybe paragraph summary that I can then maybe put into an email and say, hey, please read this, this information about this e-bike, and you'll have action to take on from it, and you can read it from there. You also have the capability of doing certain things. So here is the final of my James Webb Telescope, almost a 3-page document going through all the information there. So it's pretty handy to have. Let me bring up my Thunderbolt. And here's my summary I have right here of main ideas, the product overview, key features, specifications, performance requirements, functional requirements. The other thing I find handy here is you can ask certain things of it that you might not have thought before. Maybe let's go ahead and create a FAQ on this document. Hit enter. Now it's going to go through and pull out some key information to put a FAQ that you might want to put at the end of it, or maybe send another email out with a summary. Hey, check out this information about the Thunderbolt. Here's some frequently asked questions, and here's a summary of what it can do, and then attach the information to it. So you have the capability of working within the document, extracting some more information out, and then adding to the document if necessary. You can see here, here's my FAQ based on this information received from the e-bike document. I'm going to go ahead and stop generating this. And within the prompts, you can do certain things. And I'll show you with the other application as well. You have this right here, view prompts. So if you want to see some other suggested information, you can say view more prompts, and it's going to pull up this thing called Copilot Lab. They'll tell you, hey, here's some other information you can pull out of a Word document. Get key information, understand options, find specific information. You also can go to a thing called go to Copilot Lab, which is a website available that'll pull all the prompts to try. So if you kind of get stuck with Microsoft Copilot and try to see what else you can do, take a look at this Microsoft Copilot Lab. It will put together certain applications you want to pick. Say, I want to find what to do with the Microsoft chat. And here's some ideas of what you want to try as prompts within the Microsoft chat. Maybe you want to utilize Excel. Go to Excel. It'll give me some ideas of what you want to utilize in Excel. So very handy feature to have if you're just getting started utilizing prompts within a ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot type of application. Go ahead and go into the Copilot Lab and you'll get some great ideas to take it the next step further. So now that we've gone through how it works in Word, I want to take the next step further and go to how it works in PowerPoint. So I'm going to go ahead and open up PowerPoint, and we're going to use the same example of this e-bike document. So I have a short-page e-bike document going through the product overview, technical specifications, and things along those natures, system architect. So I'm going to come in and go into a blank presentation, and I'm going to click on Copilot here. And so when this pops up, it's going to give me, again, a couple options. I'm going to have a free flow prompt I can type in, maybe some different main applications use of Copilot. And right here it says create the presentation from a file. So when I say create from presentation from a file, it generates that prompt right in here. Please create a prompt. And it kind of tells you what to do. Copy and paste the link from a Word doc you would like to work with. So I'll come back into my Word, hit share, go ahead and copy link. I'll create my link, come back into my PowerPoint, paste it right in here, and hit go. Now it's going to take this information, work on a response. Now this does take maybe a minute to come back, but right now it's looking things over and it's going to try to figure out what's going on within the document itself. What I like about this as well, it takes that information and puts it into a certain categories and organizes the features of how it thinks it should be presented within a presentation. From there, if it soon will come here as well, not only will bring the information over, it will then create some images that it thinks will go along with each one of the main slides it has. And then finally, it'll go through and put some talking speaker notes as well. So it'll pull information from the document that you're working on and put it into speaker notes. And then you can extrapolate and take it from there. So you can see here, it's drafting the presentation. It's pulling together the hierarchy of what it's going to do as far as its specific slides. Generating slides, 10%. So it does give you kind of a where it is within the process. And this is a 4-page document. And like I said, it's going to take about a minute to get through creating a first draft presentation. And then once it gets done here, it created slides. Now it's adding the speaker notes. And very shortly, this thing we popped up right here. So here's a brand new PowerPoint presentation created straight from scratch from a Word document. I can click through here. I can brought up images of bikes. Here, pulled this, I think, from the actual document itself. And did a great job of putting it all together. And then it will actually put some key information here as well, as far as any type of speaker notes for people to talk about. So I pull up the product overview. It gives me some information. Maybe I want to speak about this actual slide itself. You can then, if you want it with PowerPoint, interact with a certain slide. So maybe there's certain things that you might like. I can come in here, view prompts. Let's see, what other options do I have here? Is there any deadlines, show actions? I don't see anything in that one I want to use. Create. Maybe I want to come in here and edit. Okay, organize that, add an image. Maybe add an image of a person riding a bike. Now I'll take that information that it's talking about, add image of a person riding a bike, and look for a different image to put it into this actual slide you're working on as well, and go from there. So I've actually found this pretty handy, utilized to kind of go through and manipulate and change things how it looks and go from there. So I really like the PowerPoint feature. It's very handy. I do think will save a lot of time of producing different output from the work you've already put together from a Word document. So now that we get through that one, let's go ahead and go into what you can do within Outlook. So let me go ahead and open my Outlook up, bring it across. Now I'm only going to show a portion of my Outlook here, but with Outlook, just a heads up here, for Outlook, you need to use the new version of Outlook. Outlook doesn't have Copilot for 365 enabled if you're utilizing the old version of Outlook. So you can see here, this definitely has more of a web-based look to it. So it's very different than you might be utilizing from the main installed application of Outlook. So definitely recommend trying this out first. You can go to outlook.com, see how it works for you, because there are some main changes of utilizing the new Outlook versus the old Outlook, such as contacts and calendars. So recommend giving it a try before fully moving over to it. But once you've actually adopted it, it actually gets pretty handy to use and get used to all the big changes. Now, this does have Microsoft 365 Copilot inside of it, which I do find very handy. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this email I got sent to me. And within every email, you have a Summarize by Copilot. So I'm going to click on Summarize by Copilot. It's going to scan my email, look for key entry points, comb through the information, and they give me a summary of everything that happened here and the correct lineage. So it says my SD times and email regarding the significance of elevated employees' experience and direct impact customer satisfaction. Now, had this been an email chain, it'll go ahead and put everyone's email within this and give me highlights of each individual email and allow me to select information from it. So very handy to get caught up on a specific email, especially if it has a lot of information inside of it. Now, you can also, new email, when you're working with a new email, you have multiple ways to actually utilize Copilot. So you can draft with Copilot straight from here, or maybe I can come over here as well and draft from Copilot. Both do the same thing. So I want to go ahead and let's say explain that you're comfortable with the steps and want to give a call when everything is been migrated. So I'm going to go ahead and generate this. Now, I'll show you in a second some different options you could do. So this coming back, I hope this email finds you well. That's not kind of how I would talk. I want to let you know what I'm comfortable with next steps. So not quite what I want to do. So let me go ahead and discard it. We'll go ahead and try it again, put in here and draft with Copilot. And now I can get different information by clicking on the general information options. I want to do direct. Maybe I want to be more casual, maybe links. Go ahead and go that direction. Now, as it learns you better, it'll have something that says make it sound like you, which does take some time to actually get that information, put that in there. But once you actually utilize Copilot, it'll make something that actually has your typical sound of all your written emails and put that as an option to utilize. Now, I haven't been utilizing this for more than a couple of weeks, so it hasn't quite grasped that yet. So right now we're going to go for casual and hit generate. So based on that one blurb, it's going to come back and generate that draft, and I can take it that next step further to make sure it's more personalized to how I typically draft an email. Hope this email finds you well. Just want to let you know I'm comfortable with the next steps. Hope you're doing a great job. Looking forward to seeing the results. Okay, that looks great. Go ahead and keep it. So now I'll pop it in here, and that can change how it responds if I want to add anything in here for as well. You also have the capability of coming in here and going to coaching by Copilot. So when I do coaching by Copilot, it's going to take an analysis of my tone and clarity to see if there's anything I want to change along the way, or provide me maybe some insights into my email that I might have seen before. I've utilized this on a handful of emails I've done for this long page, trying to explain something to make sure that it's coming through appropriately. Now, it's not going to do grammatical corrections or looking for spelling changes, but it's looking more at the information behind the scenes, the clarity and the tone, and providing some additional suggestions, maybe like reader sentiment. I'm excited or impressed or thrilled. Some additional clarity information you might want to suggest of making sure to mention the name of the project. So I hear here, the migration, what migration, provide some clarity along the way. So I do find this one useful, especially when I'm writing some long emails, especially to a huge audience, of doing a little bit of a coaching by to make sure I'm not missing anything or misinterpreting how I'm writing it. Find that very handy with an Outlook. Now, I do say Outlook and Word are one of the ones I use the most with Microsoft Copilot. And especially the draft helps me get me started on anything I want to get going or immediately, and helps me get a little bit more production out of my day instead of having to write instantly everything I want to type right there. Now, another area you can utilize Microsoft Copilot is going to be in Excel. So let me bring up Excel. Now, Excel is a little bit tricky off the top right when you get started, but once you get used to all the changes, it's not that bad. Now, I'm going to click on Copilot right here. And what it's going to tell me, it's in preview mode. So this is not fully available for all the features. So they actually still have this in preview, which I believe they're going to be GA soon, but you do have the capability still playing with it. It will tell me that I can only work with data within Copilot if it is in a table format. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Excel table. And it's going to take this document. Oh, click the one of how to do it. I only work off a Excel table. It'll tell you how to create if you want to, or you can come in here, go ahead and create my table. Grab everything, insert table, click OK. And there we go. Now I have a table format, and now I can interact with this data. Now this data is like a sales figure data about selling bikes that was kind of correlated over to the Word document I have here. So it has a whole bunch of different columns based on information about each particular bike. Now with Copilot, you can ask certain things about it. So let's go ahead and notice here it has the price, it has the cost. Well, I want to know what the profit margin is. So let's go ahead and say, create a column for profit margin. Hit play here. So it's going to go through this, go through the information. It's going to go find out which one it finds as the cost, which one's the price, because it had labeled that direction. And then it's going to suggest the formula to actually capture that information I'm looking for. So it's going to suggest the formula, give me information right here. And the best part is it gives me it and allows me to insert the column instantly. So not only did it give me the formula, how it needs to get the information, it allows me to add it straight to the Excel file I'm working on. If I want to undo it because it didn't look right, I can go that direction, but that is the profit margin I want to see. But I want to find more information out, look something quickly. So let's go ahead and add an icon to this column right here if the profit margin is above or below 30%. Click OK. So now it's going to take a look at the profit margin and then add a up arrow or down arrow based on the information if it's above 30% or below 30%. And there you go. Now I can see if there is any information below 30%. Apparently we have a couple profit margins that are in the negative. Not a good profit margin, but at least it's kind of highlights it quickly with an up or down arrow. Now, the one thing I do like as well is you can go analyze the data. So now with analyze the data, it's going to take a look at all the information available to you and potentially recommend some charts and some figures you can insert into this information or maybe copy it out and put it into a Word document. So it's going through the analyzing your data. And what's going to come through here is a couple of suggestions of what it found within this information itself. So here's a pivot chart that might show some insight about your data, the RRP by product. So how many products have been sold, what type of product it is, and how many units have been sold. Well, that sounds great. Let me go ahead and add that to my sheet. So now it's putting it into the sheet right here. So let me go back to the performance and see other insights. So it's prompting me some other ideas along the way. So I can go, hey, let's click some other insights. Oh, here's the min rider bike height. That sounds great. Or go ahead, you know what, all the insights that you might have, let's go ahead and add them. So I'll go ahead and hit all the insights, and it creates a different sheet here and grabs all the insights it has and puts it into one sheet view. So I can take that information and learn more about it, cut and paste into an email, put it into a Word document, maybe a PowerPoint, whatever you need. And so you can actually take some more analysis out of there right away. So I do find it handy using Microsoft Copilot within Excel. I am looking forward to when it actually becomes generally available and it gets this preview piece away of it to see what actually more information behind the scenes we can pull out of our information we have within Excel. Now, lastly, we have Microsoft Teams I'm going to go through. So Microsoft Teams, I find the best utilizing for Microsoft Copilot for 365. So let me bring up my Teams. And with Microsoft Copilot, this is almost like the centralized hub, I feel, of utilizing Teams for Copilot. So you have an actual Copilot right here. We can ask certain questions. So say if you want to find information out about things you're having a tendency of going, hey, look up recent emails from, and use a slash, it'll give me a people bar, and I can jump in here and find some recent information from the people I work with closely. So this is kind of nice to go, hey, do I have any to-dos from the certain person? So that slash button allows me to get specific about the individual or the information, the context of what I'm trying to find. For this one, let's go ahead and utilize it of going into a specific meeting. Summarize. I'm going to click the slash button and go into meetings. So I'm going to go ahead and have a test meeting here and hit play. So let's go ahead and summarize this meeting. So it's taking a look at the meeting I had with Lauren, a test pilot for Copilot, a test meeting we had for Copilot training. And this was all about this really neat product that's out there called Bark Boards, which allows your dog to communicate you by typing on a board. And so it basically goes through what we talked about. So this was about a 20-minute meeting, and it gives me some information about what happened in a meeting. I was excited about this opportunity of a new vertical of selling bark boards, a device that allows people to communicate with their dogs. I received a call about bark boards from the company and want to set up a demo with them next week. I asked Lauren to get some market research on other MSPs that might be selling these selling to pets and be able to talk to other people about business development opportunities that might include reselling bark boards. I also mentioned security concerns with the aspects of the bark boards. Don't know how PII and privacy protects information that a dog and a cat might type to you. So it's definitely something that needs to be evaluated. And Lauren agreed that she finds that this is an interesting opportunity. Now, for me, utilizing Copilot in meetings has been extremely helpful. Now, the key part of utilizing this in meeting, though, is it does require you to have the transcription running at all times. So if you can't transcribe, if you don't have the recording and transcription going, it won't be able to get the information that was being said in that meeting and be able to get the information out of it. So if you're not recording, you can't actually utilize Copilot within the meeting itself. So for me, this has been one of the most handy aspects of utilizing Microsoft Copilot to date. I typically in my meetings of going through is summarizing meeting and then put this into the notes part of the meeting. So anybody that has access to that meeting has the ability to see the notes. They don't have Microsoft Copilot to see the notes. So I can utilize my one license and then put this summary into it, which will have to-dos as well. So everyone's aware of what was talked about during the meeting. So a really nice little trick to utilize, especially if only a couple of people have the Microsoft Copilot for 365 license within the tenancy. It's a very handy thing to use. And those are just a couple of demos I thought might be interested to see how you can harness the power of a Microsoft 365 Copilot within the Microsoft applications that are available for you today. There are different ways to handle Microsoft Copilot for 365 in these applications, and we'll have future webinars and lunch and learns that you can attend to see how you can further utilize this on your daily basis. Now that you kind of see what you can do with Microsoft Copilot for 365, I think it's good to understand how it works on the back end. So during those demos, you saw that we had access to your data. Microsoft 365 Copilot had access to the data to bring that to the forefront when asking questions. And Microsoft has the capability of doing that because of Microsoft Graph technology. Now, the Microsoft Graph is an API for Microsoft 365 tenants, Windows, as well as the security aspects. It allows developers to access and integrate data and insights from a variety of services such as Outlook, Teams, SharePoint, OneDrive, and more. Microsoft Graph also provides tools to manage user and device identity, accessing compliance, as well as security. Microsoft Graph offers a single entry point to access data using REST APIs and also supports connectors to bring data from external sources into the Microsoft Graph services and application. And this is important to understand because the Microsoft Graph has access to your data, but we need to have Microsoft Copilot for 365 access and pull it out. So there's a whole bunch of data in there. How does it know what's relevant? And it does that by utilizing the semantic index. The semantic index is a way of organizing and retrieving this data based on the meaningful and context. It uses vectors, which are mathematical representations and features of attributes, to create connections between different pieces of information. A semantic index can help users find relevant and actionable content across various sources, such as the Microsoft Graph, Microsoft 365 applications, and the large language models. A semantic index can also enable conceptual understanding of natural languages to interact with data, such as summarizing, generalizing, as well as answering questions. How I think about the semantic index, as I think about it in a different phrase of basically people are used to utilizing search indexes today, and those are word search indexes. So when you search for maybe in search for elephant, it's going to look for the word elephant in the name of the file or in the contents of that file. And it will find all the files in your organization that have the word elephant there. Is that relevant for you for your asking? Now, that's where the semantic index looks around. So with the semantic index, when you're looking for the word elephant, it's going to find what is also relevant to the word elephant. So elephants have trunks. Elephants are roam around in groups. They live in Africa and Asia. So there's all these corresponding relevant information around the word elephant, and the semantic index will pull that all together and make it appear as relevant for you to search across different parts of that organization and find more information about the word elephant than just the actual word in a regular word search. So that's how the semantic index is different to the word search. And that's why I can bring up a large amount of information based on these searches information. Now, when you have understanding how it kind of flows through, I think I have a great kind of representation how it flows through the Microsoft suites when you ask a question. And so you kind of see how the security is within the system is how it flows through to get the answer back to you. So here's a conceptual look of the Microsoft 365 Copilot architecture. So you have the Microsoft 365 service boundary, and you have what's here, the first part, the user prompt. So you saw in the demo, all prompt based, and I put it into Copilot and asked it to pull up some information that starts within the Microsoft 365 service boundary for the prompt itself. You'll see here, there's also a lock on this. It means that the requests are encrypted with HTTP and a high level security when there. It's going to be encrypted at rest as well as in transit. So after you put in the prompt, It will then do what's called the pre-processing, going through that grounding technique I was talking about, pulling the relevant information you're asking for, search for this information based on this user or based on the meeting, pull information from this document. It's doing the grounding and pulling that in there. And then from that, going into the Microsoft Graph and finding what you have access to view, going to your emails, the SharePoint tendencies, Teams, OneDrive, going through all the organizational information that you have access to based on the Microsoft Graph technology. You'll see here on the left-hand side as well, it can go into plugins as well as the Power Platform service. And that's something that we're going to take a further look at to see how we can bring this information to you and connect external data sources to your Microsoft 365 Copilot to search other things outside your tenancy. But for the conceptual of this diagram, we're going to ignore that part for right now. It's going to go through the grounding, go to the Microsoft Graph. And once it grabs that information, what you have access to view, then it will push it back through and go back out to the large language models available to Microsoft Copilot for 365. It will go into to make sure that it has the appropriate prompts being sent to it and pulling out the PII or security aspects that should not be sent to the prompts. None of these are actually memorizing the data that's in there, and these are not trained for the large language models. Also, it does adhere to RAI, which is the responsible AI, which is the practice of developing and utilizing AI systems in a way that minimizes harm and maximizes benefit for society. This way, you're not getting back any kind of harmful information back through when the large language model sends it back across. So now that the large language model has that information, finds all what it needs to find out information on, then it sends it back through to the prompt to Microsoft 365, and then goes through a process what's called post-processing. So now it comes back in and goes back to the Microsoft Graph based on the information found from the large language models, put back into the compliance and purview section to make sure that there's any extra compliance levels that need to be applied to the information being presented back to you. Does there some security level that needs to be applied to the information? There's some encryption label that needs to be put in there based on the prompt information in the Microsoft Graph. Once it gets through the graph technology and goes back through the post-processing, it then ends up back to you as a user from the prompt. And that all happens in extremely fast processing power. If you saw within the demo, goes through that entire process and within a matter of seconds, potentially get you the answer it needs while still adhering to the correct security you have as the user and following the correct large language models and RA processes back through the system, make sure you don't have to have any compliance levels, and then presents you with information. Now, the key piece about this is, again, the security aspect. So you have the external security aspect. So Microsoft 365 Copilot model ensures that data is not exposed to other Microsoft tenants and other tendencies within their organization. So they have logical isolations of customer content within each tenant with an AAD authorization and role-based access control. Microsoft also uses physical security screening and a multi-layered encryption strategy to protect the content. And the key part here is Microsoft encrypts the customer content at rest in transit. So that makes sure that you're protected from other people in the Microsoft 365 world, but also it gets into further what you're protected within the tenant itself. The data is protected with tenant controls and permission models that we have set up or you, the client, have set up. So if a person does not have permission to access a file on SharePoint, they won't have the ability to see that when they're trying to search for it within the Microsoft Copilot world. It will not bring it up. The minute that it's shared with them again, they will have access to see it. But until then, they will basically come up saying, hey, we can't find information on XYZ if they're searching for it. They don't have access to it today. So it adheres to the current controls and standards that you have applied to your 365 tenant already. And furthermore, the large language models are not trained on, learn from any of your tenant data prompts. None of that sends the large language model to learn from the data that you have and own as your organization. So now that we've gotten through this, I think it's nice to know what kind of next steps are for you. What should you prepare for? So I definitely recommend, if you're interested in taking a look at the Microsoft Copilot for Microsoft 365, incorporate it into your organization if it makes sense. Again, it does have a high price point of $30 per user, but maybe it might make sense to bring it in for a handful of people just to try it out. Bring it in for 3 or 4 people, you can get some utilization of it, see how it works within that department or multiple departments. And then you can also, if the person doesn't need it anymore, wants to see how it works within the finance department, you can use that license and apply it to somebody else. They can use it for a period of time to understand how it can incorporate their work and enhance their productivity and creativity on a higher level. And then if it makes sense as an organization, step further into it, you can increase your quantity level going there. But also don't forget what I talked about before is the ability to have the Microsoft Copilot already available to you if you have a certain license type without spending that $30. So a lot of people have this power already at their hands to utilize the Microsoft Copilot chat functionality. They can do the chat, they can do the content creation, things along those lines Now, it won't bring it right into the Microsoft applications. You can copy and paste. You also can't create that PowerPoint from just a Word document, but it does put some power at your fingertips to actually get some value out of the solutions you currently have and the license type you're currently paying for. I do recommend it's also good looking at practicing the best prompt techniques. And this comes down to how you want to kind of organize what you're asking out of the AI system. So I think it's good to put into a format of looking for your goal, context, source, and expectation. So for the goal, what do you expect the response to be? How do you want to be delivered back to you? For example, is it going to be a list, a table, a summary? Look at the context of this. Why do you need it and who's involved? What type of sources you're asking from this? What's the source information, the samples you should be utilizing? And at the end, what's the expectation? How should Copilot respond to best meet your expectations? Should it be professional tone, long in length, easy to understand? So an example I think is like a good prompt is generate 3 bullet points to prepare me for a meeting with a client to discuss their brand campaign. Focus on emails and Teams chats since July. Please use simple language to get up to speed quickly. This way, it knows exactly where to go, how you want to present it, and expectations of how you want to obtain that data. And that way you can start practicing the correct prompts. And I think the best way to do it is start utilize this on a daily basis. Even if you don't have Copilot for Microsoft 365 today, go into Microsoft Copilot, type in certain things, see how it works for you, and then modify it to get different answers. And I really find if you spend time in it, 15, 20 minutes a day, you'll really be able to harness the power and really improve your efficiencies and creativity on a daily basis. The other piece I think is important to know is there are training capabilities right that's already released into the Ntiva training as a service platform. You have the ability to look at AI and Office training, Copilot training, and Copilot for Microsoft 365. So if you want to see it further in action, you can actually do it right from our training tool today. Let me show you how you do that. So let's bring over. So this is the training platform right here. This is our platform. So if you go to course library, you have all the different courses to search from. And right at the top, you have Copilot. If you click on Copilot, it has the Microsoft Copilot license. It's 30 lessons available to you over a course of an hour and 30 minutes. Gets into Copilot Word, PowerPoint, Outlook, Excel. Gets into a team as well as an introduction. So you can kind of see how to utilize it within your organization without having to purchase a license. You also have the capability to want to search up here, search for Copilot. And you can see how Copilot works within the Windows platform to see how it works. You can see how you can potentially summarize content, review content, act as in a role. So you have about another 49 minutes of training aspect of seeing how Copilot works on Windows. And the last piece I want to show you, we come in here and search lessons, type in AI. There's a whole course on AI in Office of utilizing Office with ChatGPT or something along those lines. So we do have training capability for you today that's within the training as a service that you can take and get more information on how you might be able to utilize this on your daily basis. And I think that brings us to the end of our presentation today. I hope you found it informative and value. I'm really excited about what Microsoft has brought to the table, being able to deliver Microsoft Copilot for 365 to small to medium-sized organizations. It is something I think would be great for each company to take advantage of, to step in to see if it makes sense for the departments, certain roles. I do think it will be able to provide more efficiencies and productivity across a wide range of your employees. And if you just kind of step into it lightly, you can kind of make some plans of how it can help you out throughout for years to come. Thank you for this. And if you have any questions, please put it into the chat section. I do review that within these webinars, and I'll answer you back from the chat session on our YouTube channel and go from there. Look forward to talking to you again soon. I hope you all have a great day. Thank you. Bye.